Well, hello everyone. It's good to see you all. Welcome to this A Life Design Roundtable today. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Great as possible on
Oh,
the
excellent.
Sunday morning.
Well, yeah,
Mhm.
and today we have such an interesting topic, modern dating. And I know you guys have had a chance to think about it a little bit. And so why don't we introduce ourselves? We can start with Brian and then Jonathan, and I'll get you pinned properly in this. So Brian, where are you hailing from today?
Yeah, I'm in Vietnam. That's where I live now. And just ready to talk about this crazy topic.
Excellent. I think that's wonderful. So, Jonathan, and where are you?
I am in California. There's a town called San Rosa
Oh,
up north from San Francisco. It's like an hour away from
very
San
nice.
Francisco.
Yeah.
Um, Now that I think about it, California for me is like California. And then if I really think about it, how many humans are like waiting to come to California, like
Oh, it's so
risking
beautiful.
their lives,
Yes.
Yeah.
crossing
Yeah.
all kinds of crazy things just to get here. And but yeah, this is where I am, so I'm grateful to be here.
It's very beautiful. Brian and I lived in California for years, and the weather can't be beat. And the fact that you're a drive away from the mountains or the ocean or a valley, I mean, it's a very the landscape, the weather is so wonderful. So I'm in Austin, Texas, and I'm so happy to be working on our topic today. Okay, so um, we have some slides. I know you're surprised. Okay, here we go. I'll make it quick. Share and present. Okay, can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Yes, it's not on presentation, but I
Yeah,
can
there we
I
go.
can
Oh,
see.
yeah. Yeah. There you go.
Okay,
Or
good. Okay, so we had talked about modern dating, and I think that means phones. So
mm.
we went with this image because whether it's on an app or whether you're texting back and forth before or after a date, phones seem to be the strongest component of modern dating. So,
Mhm.
okay, let's see. So there's some new dating language that I wanted to mention, and I'm a little bit old school. You guys are hipper and younger, so some of these might be new to you or familiar, and some of them were new to me. So the first word that I found interesting was situationship rather than relationship. And so then this is how someone described a situationship. I like them. Everyone knows we're together, but we haven't defined it yet, and they can be distant sometimes. So it's not actually a relationship, it's a situationship. So that's like a another way to describe something. And I think
Mm.
if you're only connected by electronic devices and then you make an arrangement to meet in a restaurant or at an event or for coffee, you're not running into each other in real life. And so distance is pretty easy to have between people. Friends with benefits. This is a little older phrase. Sometimes dating coaches say, are you giving your boyfriend husband privileges? That's another way to say that, but the description here is we've been sleeping together after the first date. We talk a lot. I like them, but we don't do much outside of that. That's a description of friends with benefits. Then a common question, certainly for coaching clients, I don't primarily coach around relationships, but it comes up sometimes. What are we? The question of can we define what we're doing because there's so many different ways to be dating today. If you're confused, ask questions. No question is embarrassing. You're an adult. So if you want some kind of help me adjust my compass, what are you thinking? What am I thinking? What are we? Do that. Um, the next one is a new format called LAT, and that's living apart but together. So this is long-term relationships that choose not to live together. So choosing to live apart while remaining together, keeping separate homes and scheduling both alone time and together time. And it was interesting that this is a feature that can work well when both people are divorced and they have kids and the kids are with them every other week, every other weekend. There's a time where there are kids in your home and a time when there aren't. and for the other person, a time when there's kids in the home and time when there aren't. If you sync those two things, then you're with your kids, but not with your partner. And when your kids are both with the opposite partner, you guys can spend time together. And so it's sort of the antithesis of the Brady Bunch. You're not trying to blend families. You're trying to match schedules when you have kids or don't have kids with you. So LAT, living apart together. And then the last proposal was to set expectations, whatever kind of thing you're looking for, to say what that is so that the person can make an assessment. I'm down for that or I'm not. When you're both on the same page about what a good relationship looks like, you're ready to take action and create reasonable expectations jointly. Articulate your respective needs, and then you're in a place to make those expectations work. So misalignment of expectations is a really, really common way to not have a dating relationship go well. Okay, we have a slide for each, one for men, one for women. I also looked up what is the percentage of the American population that's LGBTQ or whatever the alphabet letters are. It's 5.5% identify as interested in a same-sex relationship of some kind. And so the conversation we're having is about today about the other 95%. But I think that these things translate whatever kind of partner you're looking for, whether it's same sex or other sex. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. So here's a couple of things to think about. There'll be a slide about women, some memes, and then we'll just get down to our takes on these things. So top dating challenges for men. And I think this came from like a summary from Reddit for both men and women. So that's people stating their opinions. A challenge for men is women want you to approach them, but are unapproachable at the same time. How dare you approach me in the grocery store, but why don't men ask me out? You know what I mean? That kind of, how can it be one and not the other?
Mm.
Kind of signals that are kind of, the gyroscope is mixed up inside of her. Getting ghosted, I take getting directly rejected 100 times over. The ambiguity of getting ghosted by a woman I was interested in. So just, if it's no, could you just tell me no, and then I'll move on. Uneven expectations, kind of the reference from the earlier slide. I'll read women's dating profiles, as one person said, and the vast majority are about what they want. I want this and this and this and this. I'll read men's dating profiles, and the vast majority are about what they have to offer. And so this looks out of balance. I think, you know, there is a old kind of thinking that, you know, men provide resources and women provide care and nurture. And that's upside down and all mixed up today. But deep down, I think that's still part of how the dating game works, even on profiles. I want this and this and this and this. And I'm a high value woman, and it's this or nothing. I've got high standards. And men are just like putting up billboards. This is what I can do for you. And so that seems like out of whack a little bit. And then the last one here, on a first date, they want to know the deepest, most painful details of why your first marriage failed that only your two closest friends know in the world. So I think everyone's been on a date where suddenly you're sitting across from someone who thinks they're your psychologist or therapist, and they want to know, but why didn't it work? And they're judging you, and you don't even know them yet. So, okay, here we go. Top modern dating challenges for women. Ghosting culture. So ghosting is a problem on both sides, but it's not ghosting for the date itself. It's after you've been on a few dates and they disappear. Why can't they just say it's over? They just give you an Irish goodbye instead. They just disappear. So guys who'd rather go with the flow instead of dating with intent. And so, and on this, I hold the woman accountable. If you're dating for marriage, you need to come out with that up front. If you're dating because your biological clock is ticking, you want to have children, you need to come out with that up front, because those are such big issues. It's not fair to harbor those expectations, but not declare them to the person you're dating. This is a lose-lose scenario. So, and then Jonathan, you've mentioned this before, fake nice guys only doing nice things in order to get something in return, and then
Mm.
turn psycho when they don't get their way. That's actually happened to me. So I know there's sometimes you set there's unknown expectations. We went out on one date, and now you think we're in a relationship and I don't want to go on a second date, but now I'm an evil bitch who's destroyed your life. It's like, wait a minute. Dating is like you go on a couple of dates and does this make sense to continue or it doesn't? So, but for some men who've been shot down so much, they have a tender spot about that. So, yeah, it can be confusing even when you're upfront and state your intentions. So,
Mm.
the body count double standard. He's proud of his body count, but ashamed of hers. And so I think women are like, wait a minute, what's up with that? And then poor communication, what it means to be respectful and receive explicit consent should not be so confusing, yet it is. Women are as much at fault as that as men are, to wake up in the morning and had provided consent and then regret the consent and then somehow pretend consent was not provided. And so it's like, you were drunk, but you did say yes. And so this is where we are in the morning. And so communication needs to be stronger, I think, with everyone involved. But that's kind of a modern take for men and women. Okay, some memes, and then we'll get to our conversation. That crucial moment on a first date when you realize you'd rather be home watching TV with your cat. I'm sorry my online dating profile gave you the impression I'm actually interested in online dating. So sometimes women, it's like, why are you on the dating sites if you never accept the offer of a date? Like, what are you doing? So at the top here, I never make the same mistake twice. I make it about 5 or 6 times just to be sure. So I know as Jonathan, you coach people around dating, men in particular. You may have run into how many times have we found ourselves in this place? And then lastly, you've been diagnosed with a serious case of attention-seeking disorder. So, sometimes there's a competition among women to be on Instagram and show off the fancy date they're on, and they don't even care about the man who's buying their meal. Care about showing off to their friends on Instagram. And so that's attention-seeking disorder, people. You're using other people to validate your high value instead of being out on a date to actually try to get to know this person. So there's fraud involved there somewhere. But I think mostly people see it as attention-seeking. And I think that have been caught in that trap, notice on Instagram the fancy places they're at and the man they're out with or the people they're out with are never in the picture. And it's like, okay, I get what this is. But yeah, so online dating can reveal maybe not our best, sides, but I was mentioning to Jonathan before we got on our program today that there was a 2024 report that I saw on LinkedIn that 60% of current relationships were born online. So the dating apps and then other ways people meet each other, whether it's through Instagram or Facebook, LinkedIn even, the first interaction was online. And so we can talk about how dating has changed as a result of that. But okay, so Brian, would you like to go first? I know you have some thoughts you wanted to share, and then we'll visit Jonathan's thoughts. So plenty to talk about.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to be careful a little bit because I'm gonna come more from like an MGTOW perspective, which means men going their own way. I agree with a lot of men who think that it's just simply not worth it to date modern women, and there's about 7,000 reasons why. But I'm gonna try to be gentle, like, because I want this to be helpful. I don't want to bash women too much. I do think in today's world, in Western society, I do think the fault is more on women personally, and I can back that up with a lot of different things. I don't think that's true all over the world, though. So, for example, like in the Middle East, probably the men are maybe more of the problem. And I'm not trying to judge them, but it's just
There are
those
cultural
are
differences, sure. Mm-hmm,
I have nothing against people from the Middle East. And I've
mm-hmm,
had friends, people from that region, all that stuff. But that's actually a patriarchy, unlike the fact that we
right,
pretend like America's patriarchy, which is
right,
not.
right,
And I can also prove that with
right.
facts. But um, in a real patriarchy, women would not be allowed to just spew endless hate and endless complaints about men. They would simply be silenced.
Mhm, mhm,
The fact that they can like just complain online all the time and
mhm,
always say men are the problem, that literally proves you're not in a patriarchy.
mhm,
If
mhm,
you were in a patriarchy, men would say shut up and you would have to shut up.
mhm, mhm,
That's a patriarchy. So like,
mhm.
but anyways, I did write down a few things here on this little.
Uh-oh, you've done some thinking about this.
Yeah, so what I'm just gonna compare traditional relationships with modern relationships,
Yes,
and I'm gonna show how basically everything got way worse for men.
okay.
That doesn't mean that you can't have a good relationship as a man. You just have to be Jonathan. But I'm talking about for normal average guys who
Mhm,
aren't exceptionally skilled with communication with women,
mhm,
who aren't rich, who aren't this or that. Like
mhm,
I'm thinking about more the average man. I actually think for the average guy, it's probably not worth it.
mhm,
If you get really good skills with women, I think you can make it work, but it's way, way, way harder to develop the dating skills necessary as a man than as a woman. It's not even close. They're different universes. And I think women have no idea how true that is. Do you want
I
to?
was just going to say the things are so scrambled today. We're making a case for getting coaching help in the field of dating. There's a common phrase, well, he or she has a lot of baggage,
Hmm.
or someone who has a therapist will say, I think he has a lot of unhealed wounds, you know,
Hmm.
or her last two boyfriends destroyed her, and it's my job to do cleanup on aisle 7 because I'm not an
Yeah,
asshole like the other two boyfriends.
that too.
And so I think that people are coming around to, are you doing your own work? Like, did you do your own cleanup on aisle 7 so that you're actually ready to date again? And it could be that you're in grief, or you have repeated the same mistake so many times you don't know how to get out of the loop of what you've been doing. And so this is a case for working with dating coaches for sure. Please go ahead.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you want to date and you have a lot of issues, you should absolutely work with a dating coach, someone that you trust, someone you can build rapport with. And there's really no one else to fill that gap. Like
Mhm,
your friends probably can't help you, your family probably can't help you.
mhm,
There's, especially as a man, there's very few people that actually really have the skills
mhm,
to deal with the expectations of modern women and the
mhm.
demands of modern dating for men. And honestly, I think women really have, in general, no clue what that's like for men. And I can back that up a lot too. But let's look at traditional relationships versus modern. And let's just look at how things have changed. Okay. More or less, the basic idea in a traditional relationship was the man worked, he made the money, he provided for the wife and the children.
Mhm,
So he provided for himself, the wife, and the children. He provided protection. He dealt with any of the tough issues. Like if there was a tough situation, he's expected to go face it and handle it. He dealt with stuff like disciplining the kids, any of the harder conversations where he was expected to do. The woman was more just to do the softer side of
mhm,
raising the kids, like
mhm,
cooking, cleaning, changing the diaper, stuff like that. He was expected to kind of make decisions to make sure the family gets to retirement, make sure everything's on track for all the kids, and the wife and himself.
mhm,
And that was more or less what was expected. Okay. And having a normal job at that time in the 50s, 60s, 70s was enough to take care of a wife and two kids. A man could work 40 hours a week
mhm,
and take care of four people.
Yeah.
and still retire.
Mhm.
So the problem is, and so then a woman in the traditional relationship, a woman was expected to be pleasant and respectful with the husband. She was expected to raise the kids, to like spend most of the time taking care of the kids. The father should interact with the kids sometimes, but the woman was supposed to do a lot more of it.
Mhm.
And then she would cook, clean, maybe get the kids to school, and then just kind of be nurturing and caring towards the family. That was more or less the basic model. In modern times, though, what's happened is because of the feminist movement and how far it's gone, I mean, it's progressed a lot from where it started. Women have a lot, not all women, but a lot of women have said or have bought into the idea that they don't have to cook for a man, they don't have to clean for a man, they don't even want kids, they don't even want to raise the kids. They don't even think they have to be pleasant and respectful with a man. They think it's fine to be rude.
Mhm.
They spew endless hate on social media about men. I could give you thousands of examples of that.
Mhm.
I mean, there's screenshots and stuff. That's all over the place.
Mhm.
Um, and they also get to make their own money, but they're not going to spend it on you. But you have to spend your money on them, even though they don't do any of the stuff they were traditionally supposed to do.
Mhm.
So they subtracted all their responsibilities. And now they're actually adding to the men's side. They want men to make even more money, be even more charming, be even more handsome.
Mhm.
You're supposed to be great at texting to keep them excited, to keep them feeling the butterflies,
Mhm.
and on and on and on and on and on. So, like, the expectations on men have grown like this. For women, they've taken their expectations down like this. And you can watch a lot of relationship podcasts where they discuss many women will openly just say, I'm the prize. I don't have to meet any expectations. If a man gets to be in my presence, that's enough. Okay, well, what does a man have to give? Oh, he's got to make money. He's got to be handsome. He's got to be great in bed. He's got to
Mhm.
do this. He's got to do that. He's got to be charming. He's got to be funny. He's got to be intelligent. He's got to lead. He's got to, and they have a list of 100 things, but their list is zero.
Mhm.
Just the fact that I'm here,
Mhm.
he should be over the moon. And there's hundreds of examples of this
Yeah.
on dating shows, and I've watched this stuff. Okay, so basically it's getting less and less worth it for men over time. And there's many, many other reasons why this is true. This isn't even all of it. The another situation is, Mom, you brought up inner work, and I'm a huge fan of inner work. I totally think everyone has to do inner work. But in the case of dating, it goes beyond inner work. There's actually a lot of legal issues
Mhm.
that inner work isn't gonna do anything about that. So women now, this is statistically true, are the ones who most often file for divorce.
In the Western countries.
And,
Mhm.
well, yes, we're talking about Western
Mhm.
countries. I don't know the stats on Eastern countries. I know there's less divorce there, but
Mhm.
so in Western countries, women much more often file for divorce. I think it's like 70 or 80% of the time it's the woman filing for divorce. So imagine this. You have to pay for all the dates. You have to be the one who's charming. You have to carry most of the conversation. You have to impress her all the time, just so that you can marry her so that she can cheat on you and then take half your shit. That's literally that's happened to millions of men. So I don't want to pretend like this is a small problem because it's not. It's a huge problem. Um, and it's fine. There is the other side, but women legally, actually, the law favors women in the Western world, even though they still claim it's a patriarchy.
Mhm.
And I can prove that also.
Mhm.
So the which means they're being disingenuous. Like
Mhm.
on some level, they have to know that's not true, but they're still claiming it. So um, a woman legally has the right to steal half of a man's life savings, and sometimes that's referred to as divorce rape, which is a good term for it.
Mhm.
Many men have gone through this. Many men have gone through this. And there's absolutely no reason why a woman is entitled to half your life savings, especially money you earned before you even met her. How does that make sense? That's there's no argument for that. So, are the feminists, are the women coming out and speaking out against this? Not really. And again, there are a few women who speak out against this stuff, but usually men's issues are ignored.
Mm.
But it's a patriarchy, right? So, but here's the thing. So, also, there's about a 90% chance that a woman gets full custody of your children, even if she's not a good mother, even if you're a great dad, it doesn't matter. So it's literally dangerous legally for men to get married and have kids now. That is a fact. So, but then women still expect men to date for marriage and he's not being serious. I mean, how can you be? The entire society does not support men on these issues. And this has been going on for decades. Where's the outrage from feminists? They don't care. Look, they care about their own issues. They don't care about men's issues, which means they're not about equality. They are being disingenuous when they say that. So I'm just saying it's actually very dangerous for men to even date women seriously now. It's dangerous for men to cohabitate now. There are many, many examples of women falsely accusing men of domestic violence or of rape, and the cops will come and take you straight to jail. You literally don't have rights.
Mm. Mhm.
Literally, the cops won't even ask for your side of the story a lot of times. They
Mhm.
put you in the back of the cop car and take you to jail. They
Mhm.
don't care if she's lying, and she does not get prosecuted for these false allegations. We actually allow women to get away with crimes
Mhm.
in the West.
Mhm.
This is part of what's created the entitled character that a lot of women have now. And that is also true, even though people want to deny it. So you have this situation where dating women can actually ruin men's lives very seriously. This is not a joke. In many different ways. But then women are like, this guy's not taking me seriously. What's up with that? Men have no reason in that society to take dating seriously now. Once you consider all the legal issues. Now, again, if you're handling it as a man, good for you. Way to go. You're way better than me at that.
Mhm.
But I'm saying there's serious societal issues,
Mhm.
legal issues that go beyond um, just doing the inner work. Although people should always do the inner work
Mhm.
and reach out to a coach if you need someone to guide you or help you through. That's a great idea, especially if you have issues that you can't work through on your own. But um, the other thing is, we used to have a society that rooted for marriage, rooted for people to stay together for the kids. That's gone now.
Mhm.
Most women will give other women the advice, oh, leave him if you're not happy.
Mhm.
That's very common. And again, I could show you tons of social media comments to prove this, tons of videos to prove this. I'm not making this up. I've
Mhm.
familiarized myself with tons of the content that's out there.
Mhm.
So, um, you have all that stacked against you as a man, and then your wife's girlfriends are going to root for her to leave you as well. Her friends are also against you. The whole society, all the laws are against you. But then women wonder, like, okay, men are the problem. Why aren't they taking dating seriously? Well, you got to stop ignoring men's issues. These
Mhm.
are serious issues in society that have to change. That's not negotiable at all. This has to change. And honestly, a lot of women are used to ignoring men's issues. They're not even aware of a lot of this stuff, or they're aware and they don't care because there's kind of this chorus of women supporting other women. But in doing that, they ignore all the issues that men face. So a lot of women are almost completely ignorant of the types of issues that men have to deal with in dating or in marriage or any of this stuff.
Mhm.
It's literally like we live in two different realities or two different universes.
Mhm.
There's a lot of truth to that.
Mhm.
I'm going to end it right there. That's my piece. And
Well, I'm going to transition to Jonathan, but
okay.
um, I heard a lot of women are this and men are that. So, I mean, we're kind of looking at the cultural dysfunction, which I think you outlined
Yep.
very well. And as a coach, and Jonathan, I imagine you too, have seen both sides. I've seen women who've, hit the mark in a traditional marriage and a husband has gone through a midlife crisis and decides a sports car and a young blonde make a lot of sense for me right now, and get divorced. And then they discover, wait, these women only care about the money I'm spending on them. They don't care about me. The one who cared about you, you left and said goodbye in divorce court. So,
And
I mean, the
that,
same thing
yep.
happens with women. And I have talked to maybe 3 men in the last month who said, you know, my wife was unhappy and she thought it was my job to make her happy. And as we know, you have to make yourself happy. It's nobody else's job to make you happy. But this confused state of he's not making me happy, so I'm going to leave him. And then the first question I ask is, how happy is she now? Well, she's miserable because she doesn't have my support. I'm paying twice as much, but she feels like she's getting half as much. We both down market, you know, where we live. The kids are back and forth and the kids are miserable and she's miserable. And she's the cause of all of this because she wanted to be happy. Now she's miserable. And her girlfriends told her, you just find another guy. It's like a bus. There's one on every corner. You just find another guy. And, you know, men culturally have learned, you're divorced in the last 2 years and you have 3 kids. That is a cleanup on aisle 7. I don't want to do that. You know, I'm not going to take that on. And so there's a lot of dysfunction, but there are more people live happier lives married. Lots of people want to raise children and do so successfully. So I think the headline news and the posts are always about the worst case scenarios, the most dramatic scenarios. And we've all seen it, but you know, Jonathan, let me transfer this over to you. We've well described the dysfunction, Brian, and you're not wrong about those things. And we've seen it in our coaching practices. But, you know, what is your perspective, Jonathan?
There is a phenomena called sexual market value.
Okay.
And
Yes. Yes.
So if you're not planning to become a monk, you better start investing, because there are other humans out there like me that are like putting a lot of
Time and effort.
effort into becoming the best version
Yep.
of himself. So that goes back to the original point, which is it's a great point actually, of is it worth it? How worth is it for you? It's not for everyone. Dating, relationships, it's a lot of responsibility. It is like, I have had pets, for example, and this is like way beyond having a pet. Like,
Of course.
it takes a lot of, even though so yeah, it is extremely important if anyone decides to go into a relationship. There has to be a understanding that is not going to be like it was before. Online, the internet changed the whole dynamic when it comes to humans. For example, let's say there was a cute woman in the old days in this small town in Northern California. Let's say this small town, only 3,000 people live in the town. She's the prettiest woman in the town. Then she has to choose like the most attractive male in the town. And everything was fine. She was married to the most attractive male also in the town, and everything was great. Now, the same woman from that petite town of only 3,000 people has access to a multi-billionaire that lives in Dubai, and he can fly her with a private jet and just take her for a date and pay her $30,000 just to like meet her. So now she looks like the most attractive guy in her town, and she's like, "You fucking suck. You don't have a private jet." So the whole it changed dramatic.
Right. It's been scrambled.
It's been
scrambled.
Yeah. Now from every there's a saying, from every chaos, there's an opportunity or something like that
Yeah,
for
right.
every,
Within
yeah.
every chaos, within chaos, there's always opportunity.
Mm-hmm. So the good thing about it now is that for a man also, it's also not that complicated, because if you really process, if you take some time for yourself and you really start observing, there is not really that much competition out there. Like if you really decide that you want a relationship and you actually start paying attention, is literally not that complicated to become a better version of yourself. And as a consequence, like the consequences are, you literally walk outside and you can approach anyone you want. There is a way to like have a online, like a dating app profile, and then you can get access to unlimited dates, because there is not literally there is really not much real competition out there. Men have become extremely passive, so in the scrambled fucked up thing that happened, it also comes a lot back into responsibility for the men, because women, when I can say this because I have, let's say, a little sister, I have a mother, believe it or not, and then I have nieces. I have a like a teenager. She's like 18, which I learn a lot from her also. So I have access to all these different ages, like in my social circle, and they're very open to me with like what they are experiencing. And the reality is, if I really think about it, like women are born, and the moment they are born, they have, especially if they are like cute or attractive, they have all this value, like it's automatic. They don't have to work for it. They're just there.
Embedded, it's just ingrained.
It's just there, and it's so like extremely valuable, right? Um, and men is completely different story. Like we are born, and even if you're rich, like, and I know this because it doesn't matter if you don't build your character, you work on like sharpening your skills, all this like literal hard work that is going to take you to become an attractive human. Men are born without any value whatsoever. Like you're born and then you have to work for it. And the point is, there's not many men that are willing to work for it, and I've noticed this, which is why it's so easy to, if you really want to date someone and you do not know how, that's what coaches are there for, because we can show you, like, I can show someone the way. Like, it's one of my areas of expertise, because life becomes extremely easy on that realm. Like it's only hard if you're unattractive, but if you become an attractive human, it's a piece of cake, and you can literally, it becomes so easy. Now, when it comes to whose responsibility is how fucked up everything is right now when it comes to dating, something that I have learned is that women, they are just being women, and there's they are going to, they're not going to change. So I still believe that the problem is a lot of weak males. Because if there was not too many, uh, it would be a different world. So I still believe that men have the responsibility to analyze themselves, and instead of like complaining, actually understand that life changes and we are experiencing a dramatic change when it comes to interact, like dating, for example. So I do believe that men are responsible, more responsible, if anything, than women, because women are just, they're just going to push all the buttons. They're always going to push the species to become better version, right? So if that means they're not going to give a fuck about 95% of males, that they cannot help it. And that's the thing that I'm saying. We as men, we have to understand that that is how it is. So observing reality as it is, it gives you a lot of room to play with, because then you don't take it personal, and then you decide how worth it. Like for me, for example, to listen to an orgasm from a female on my ears, it is worth it. Like if becoming the best version of myself, that's what's going to take. For me personally, it is worth it. For some other person, it might not be worth it. So there's also like the personal factor, you know. But it is extremely easy. Like literally, once you start working on yourself, it is not that complicated. It is extremely easy. It is easy. It sounds, I know it sounds
I think,
like crazy, but it's so easy.
well, I think one of the processes that we find in coaching, part of why you find it easy, is instead of looking at the universe of options, the changing culture, the capital D dysfunction that exists in the modern dating world where it's all electronic and not in your social circle, we can agree to that landscape is scrambled. But when you work with a coach or when you're just trying to solve it for yourself, you're not dealing with 500,000 men and women. You're dealing with what you want right now. So when we take all of that other stuff and narrow our focus, are you the best version of yourself? Which is a great question for both men and women. Instead of complaining, I'm not getting any dates because I'm 50 pounds overweight and fat is beautiful. How about we drop the 50 pounds? Like start there, become the best version of yourself. And for men too, I'm not forward, I get shot down, I don't know how to do this. Well, then go learn how. If you want to do this, get a coach and learn how. So if we take responsibility for ourselves and then we narrow our field of vision to what do we want where we are, it gets a lot easier. I want to date for marriage. I don't. I just want to have a little fun. I've gotten out of a marriage, and the last thing I want to do is jump right into another one. I am not, healed from the last one. I want to have a dinner date once a month. I want to have a, beach weekend with a nice guy once a month. This is what I want. I'm going to declare these are my
and
expectations. And that's whatever works for you, figure that out and go get that.
and
Jonathan.
that reminds me of, it is a great idea to know what you really want. Like for example, if you're going to go dating,
Mhm.
you really have to know what are you looking for. Like if you're going to look for a one night stand,
Mhm.
that like if you're going to look for like open relationships or like situationships, which actually, by the way, the on the slides that you had, Myrna, I have experienced all of them, right? So that's why I can come from experience. So um it is extremely important to like at least know what is it that I want, because you cannot, let's say for example, if you're looking for let's say for example, if you are looking for someone to marry, the last place you should be looking for someone to marry is on a fucking dating app.
Mhm.
That is the whole basic, like this, like the base of the story.
Mhm.
Like you go to a library, you go to the church that you probably are going to end up marrying, you
You
go to the
join
park,
an
you go to the
interest
park,
group
you
of
go to the
something you love to
gym, you go
do.
to the coffee shop. You don't go to a dating app.
Mhm.
On a dating app, however, if what you're looking for is fun, that
Mhm.
is the perfect place to be. It is the perfect place to be if you're looking for fun. um
Well, and I
uh,
think the people that come out of relationships, there's something that was broken because the relationship did not stay together, whatever it was. So there's been damage done on both sides. There's some wreckage. There's some repair work that needs to happen. And then I hear people say things like, well, I don't even know what else is out there. I've been married for 7 years or 15 years or 25 years. I haven't dated anybody new in that length of time. I don't even know what's out there. So I think the dating apps can be helpful while you get the rhythm of what am I looking for? What is available out there? What is my market value? I mean, sometimes you need to just, like a marketing expert, you need to just benchmark what is your dating value. Is what you're looking for seem reasonable to the people that are accepting your interest on a dating app? I also think for men, that one comment where a man said, you look at a woman's profile and it's like a list of hostage demands. And you look at his profile and it's like, my bank account has this balance. Are you willing to go out with me? You know, it's kind of like so out of whack. To ask the question of yourself as a man, what would make me happy? Not can I make her happy? Because
Let
that's
me
in fact
let me
not
share let me share you
what
let me
would
share
make
you
me happy, and then find that. Please go ahead, Jonathan.
Yeah, thanks, Myrna. Let me share you a story of one of the experiments that I did when I was younger, um, when it comes to dating apps. Because I had, for example, I have friends. Specifically, I'm not going to say his name, so you're fine. But it's a doctor, so he's like extremely wealthy.
High value.
And back in the day, for example, this guy, he was like he's handsome. We're talking like high school, for example. He's handsome. He's rich. He has like, when you're like 17, 16 and you have a car, it's like, come on. He has all these boxes, like everything. It's perfect. On paper, he's like the perfect. Like if I was a woman, I would be like, I want to marry this one. He's rich. He's handsome. He loves
The whole package.
relationships. One time he meets one of my friends and he's like, oh my God, I fell in love with her. And I'm like, okay, fine. I'll introduce you to her. This guy brings her flowers. She laughs at him. She because she was from the ghetto, right? So this girl, she looks at him and then she's like, what in the fuck? Like, so the point of the story is that money is not going to save you as a man. And the experiment that I did, for example, was when I did this one on the dating apps. My profile, this is what my profile looked like. I had a picture of myself, like 3 pictures, and then it said, at that time, I had no, for example, at that time I had no car, I have no place to live, basically. I have not, basically it was like, I don't have this, I don't have this, I don't have this. Also, I'm extremely selfish. I don't think I'm going to care for you.
The
And
anti-dating profile.
it was like the most repulsive
You're a complete
profile
fool
that
if you date me. Click here to date me.
it was like the most repulsive profile that I can ever think of. And I was still getting a lot of dates. So that proves that it's not that complicated. Literally. If somebody has a problem getting dates, they are the problem. It's not woman, it's not and then when it comes to back to the relationships, yes, it's true. There's so many distractions now because let's say you get married or you get into a relationship, you have to be extremely aware all the time that you took on a responsibility and it's your responsibility. Otherwise, it's I will suggest don't take it. But if you decide to, then you are the responsible one. And I'm talking to men because you can choose not to have a relationship, but do know that if you decide to get into one, there is no escape from every day updating yourself, like upgrading yourself.
Yes.
Going to the gym, learning, sharpening your skills, because women are not going to forgive you. If you stay stuck, they are
So this is
Mhm.
interesting. Do you mind if I jump in
No, go ahead.
on this real quick? There's a woman that I follow on Instagram, and she used to kind of buy into most of the messages that a lot of modern women buy into now, which is kind of what you're getting at. And she said that when she was married, she always expected her husband to do better and better and better and better and better all the time. She didn't have to do better, but she always expected her husband to do better and better and better. And she said that's just normal. That's how most women feel. They want the man to always be stepping up, but they don't have to. So she left him because she thought he wasn't becoming Superman, because we're all supposed to be
Climbing the
Superman.
escalator successfully.
But she has actually turned around now, and she's like, I was the problem. This is very rare. You don't usually get this from women, but she's like, I was the problem. And I agree that I agree with you, Jonathan. I don't think most women are going to do this. I think they're going to stay in their mindset, go with their feelings. That's life. But she has turned around and said, you know, I was the problem and I was always nagging him because he wasn't becoming better. And I thought he's always supposed to take me to a better and better life. And that's all his responsibility. And I can just relax and be me. And that's my privilege as a woman because I'm the prize. All
Mhm.
this kind of stuff, which is a lot of the messaging that women have bought into now. Or maybe you could argue it's their nature. Or maybe you could argue that it's messaging they bought into. I don't know. But that is the mindset a lot of them have now. But she said, you know what? Looking back, she's like, I think if I would have just appreciated everything he was doing, she's like, I'm sure he would have been more romantic with me. He
Mhm.
would have been better with me. He started distancing himself from me.
Mhm.
Like he wanted to go hang out with his friends more.
Mhm.
And she's like, I realized it's because I was a nag. I was a
Mhm.
bitch. Like I was not
Mhm.
fun to be around. Like, I mean, I was just always demanding that he do better and better. Who wants to be around that?
Mhm.
So I don't know. Once in a while, a woman can change her mindset, take accountability. Like, I mean, I know a lot of them don't in relationships and they just kind of go with the narrative. Men are always the problem. I'm always the prize. There's a lot of that now. But um, I do think, as I think the advice you're giving is very, very correct for men that want to date. You have to be prepared to deal with women with that mindset because that's usually what you're going to run into. I don't know. That's what I think.
Yeah,
So,
and it's Mir.
I was just gonna say, I think it's on the flip side, women sometimes think, okay, I still have 25 extra pounds from the third child, and I'm not focused on losing it because I have the PTA meeting and I'm running 3 kids around, and I also work so we can live in this neighborhood because it's impossible to not have 2 incomes and have the lifestyle we want, or keep the kids in private school, or get the annual vacation, or whatever reason. So there's a lot of pressure on women to be upgrading themselves too, and they feel like they literally can't keep up. And so, do I get a break because I haven't lost the weight from the last kid until the kid is 3 years old, or actually in daycare at or school at 5 years old? I think communication is so important for both people to say, this is what makes me happy. I heard a man say a month ago, well, what happened to the standard of she always needs to be able to fit into her wedding dress? Like this standard of you need to get back to the woman I fell in love with, not the woman who's the mother of 3 kids and hasn't lost the baby weight from the last kid. So I think when you have uneven expectations like that, communication lets you say, okay, I'll commit to getting this weight off. I'm now 40, so it's not as easy as when I was 20. And we have 3 kids to look after, and we both work. And so let's figure this out. Do I have 2 mornings in the gym? What does this look like? If you can be honest about your expectations and accept whatever that feedback is, and she works on herself and he works on himself, we don't have problems now. Everyone's taking responsibility for themselves and their own happiness, but we don't have communication like that. People don't know how to do it. The world is more complicated and confusing. And so I think coaching can be helpful there.
so
Jonathan,
let
wanna,
me, no,
okay,
I want
go
to,
ahead,
let me
Brian,
jump in
jump
on that
in.
real quick.
Mhm.
Sorry. And then Jonathan, we'll get to you. So, what I want to say about that is to some extent, it's not a fair comparison. And let me just make this point. Um, the thing is, in general, men might have expectations of women in, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 different areas. The thing is, women have expectations of men in 100 different areas now, though. So it's not the same. It's not the same. Like most men, if you ask men, what do you want from your woman? I just want her to be attractive, be pleasant, respectful with me,
Mhm. Mhm.
give me sex when I want it, and
Mhm.
maybe cook or clean or something. A lot of guys aren't even so picky about that now.
Mhm.
Like, and then just be loyal. Like, don't be sleeping around. Like that's it.
Mhm.
But a lot of women are saying, here's the 200 things I want. You got to be funny. You got to be tall. You got to be charming. You got to be muscular. You got to be rich. You got to be part of a powerful social network. You got to not care that I flirt with other dudes and don't be insecure about it. You got to. And to me, to be honest, that actually in my opinion, that means these women don't actually love men. Because look, I think men are more loving towards women now than women are towards men in many ways. But we always give women credit for being the more loving gender. Here's why. No, here's why. Because listen, if I only expect 3 or 4 or 5 things from you, I mean that means I accept you. If you have 200 demands on me, you really don't accept me. You're like treating me as like I gotta do this like I'm a slave, or I'm like an employee that has to meet super high demands. That's not love, really. Like where's the human to human connection on that? If I put a list of 200 things I want from a woman and I say, you got to do all this, is she going to feel loved? See, in my opinion, that's a big problem. I got to throw that in there, but
No,
anyway.
that's great. No, you are right. You are correct. And here comes an addition to what you are saying. So in my experience, men are the ones, we have the tendency to love unconditionally. When you fall in love as a man, it's like, oh, we are kind of naive, let's put it that way. In that sense, we are the romantic ones.
Yeah.
Now here comes the reality. The reality is, and this is why it's important to see things as they are, not as we would like them to be, because that's when shit goes wrong. Women they're not that romantic. They enjoy sometimes here and there romantic gestures, but they're not really. The truth is that they're not romantic by nature. Men are, women aren't, and they will not love you unconditionally. Also, unless you're like their son. If mom with son, that's a different story because you're their baby forever. But if there is somebody like any other female, she is not going to love you unconditionally. That is the biology of it. Like, and it adds to your point, like the list. You have to be this. The reality is that in most cases that it's true. That's you have to be, but then again, it comes to the best version of yourself. You have to become the funniest version of yourself. That's true. You have to become the most competent financially version of yourself. That is also true. You have to get the best network possible on your within your grasp, like within your social skills. You also should do it. If it's all the things that I know it sounds like a lot, but the reality, what I see now with the different perspective is they are just on naturally pushing you to become best version of yourself, period. Again, you should understand, is it worth it? In reality, sometimes not really, because you can just choose. There are also a lot of women that they're not going to push you that much, which means that you can have a pleasant relationship with someone that is like extremely more submissive. For example, she's not going to push you that much, but at the same time, you're never going to meet the best version of yourself because you're going to be like stuck on that level. So
you're
it's like
settle for that.
Yeah, you're going to settle. Also, men, we forget also, Brian, that we as men, we also get to choose. Like we get to choose. You must have this, this, this. Yeah, if you flirt with other men, you are not for me. I will cut it like here, like it ends today. The thing is, the reality is that men don't do that. They're like, just don't leave me, please. Like, so that is also like having a backbone and saying no. I want this, this, and if you don't do it, then also
let me jump in on this, Jonathan. I totally agree with you. I think men should be men. I think men should have a backbone and all that. I totally agree with that. But here's something that's usually not mentioned in this whole debate. And it's also something I think in general women don't really care about, but it's a big issue.
They
The
don't.
tes-
That's the whole
they
point.
don't.
They
They
will
don't. And
never.
they, yeah. So, and they prove that every day on social media. But I know there's exceptions. But, um, so the testosterone levels. This is a big fucking deal.
Yeah.
The testosterone levels of men
Mhm.
are more than 50% lower than what they used to be in like the 1970s.
Mm.
And
Especially in Western countries.
there's chemical
Western
reasons for
countries.
this.
Mhm.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
lot of the chemicals in the food and in the water
Aspartame.
lower men's testosterone. So that's a big factor
Mhm.
as to why men are weak, men are passive, they don't have a backbone now.
Mhm.
So my question is, how do you feel about that? How do you include that in your perspective? Like, should men be taking all these supplements to boost testosterone or lifting heavy weights or what? Because I do think our hormones, our overall health, like affects our mindset. It affects our perspective a lot.
Mm.
And I think for men out there who are very low testosterone,
Mhm.
I mean, they're not going to be inclined to have that backbone, or
Mhm.
they're not going to think it's worth it to deal with women's shit.
Mm.
Like, which is kind of how I feel. And I also I am lower testosterone. I need to raise my testosterone. So
Mhm.
I think honestly, as a man, you have to have very high testosterone to push you to that point where you feel like it's worth it to deal with all the crap they're going to make you deal with. If you don't have that high sex drive, you're just like, you know what, I'm good. Like,
Exactly.
I,
That's
yeah,
yes, true.
yeah,
Because if you
I
don't have the
really,
need for it,
yeah,
that's
yeah, it's, yes. So, like, if your testosterone levels aren't high enough to where you feel like, no, I have to get the sex, I fucking need it. Like, if you're not at that level, honestly, it's probably not worth it. It's not, because you don't have enough of a drive to deal with the endless shit women can put you through. Okay. So, I mean, honestly, that's the reality. Someone's got to say it.
and no, it's because it's true. They will always do shit test for their. They will never ever ever stop testing you if you're on a relationship. It is in their nature to push all the buttons. Even with uh Adi Jogi and
Yeah.
the wife or girlfriend, whatever, she will
Oh,
push
yeah.
his button. So like it doesn't. They will always push you to. That's the reality of it. Now there's also something that I have experienced, that I came in contact with this new dimension before. Not that much. I've never experienced that before, but there's a level of mastery that we can achieve as men, that all the shit does that women will naturally, unconsciously, sometimes consciously, because I know some of them, they have told me, oh, I do this on purpose. And I
Yes,
know some of them,
they
and
do.
I know, yes, no, I have had women telling me I do this and I have my ways of shit testing, man.
And
But
sometimes
mhm.
sometimes they lie about it and say they don't do it on
But
purpose.
we have a
Sometimes they tell
phrase
the truth.
about it because it's so frequent and it's usually involving text messaging of some kind. I don't know, but yeah.
Yes, no, I have women admitting like, but also I have also experienced times when they do it like just naturally, like they not on purpose. You know what I'm saying? Like it just comes
They
like
got to stir the pot.
naturally. It's just there.
So it's a
Um,
chaotic impulse.
yes. Now, what I was referring to, this dimension that we as men can access to, is there's a level of mastery where all the shit that you can think of, it doesn't matter anymore.
Mhm.
And that's
I
where I'm
agree
coming
with
from.
that.
I can teach men how to achieve that level, because then in reality it doesn't matter whatever they throw at you, you know, it's like it's not going to freak you out, because you know
Yeah.
Mhm.
it's always going to happen. And then you can peacefully enjoy the rewards of a relationship, or like the dating, playful, but always keeping in mind that women are going to always, like, the shit that they're going to throw you, they're always going to be there. And even if they are always going to test, they're always, there's no way they're not going to.
I have to jump in and give the female perspective a little bit. Yes, it's wrong to randomly shit test as a demonstration of power But really what that is, in my mind, is a woman is double checking her market value with you. Does he still care enough to go the extra mile for me? Am I still seen as valued by him? You know that meme where a woman is walking with a man and he turns and looks at the backside of a woman walking away, right? That popular meme. Because a woman knows that a man's sexual desire can be distracted from her. He can catch the eye of the secretary at work or the woman that serves the coffee, and all of a sudden she's chopped liver. And so there's kind of a like safety protocol, which is screwed up along with everything else that's scrambled today, that says you need to double check how much you still matter. Is he still all in for you? And how do I double check that? Like if I ask him, will he tell me? Probably not. And so this shit testing, or this way of, making sure you know where the boundaries still are, you're still walking the same lane together. Am I still high value enough that he's not going to bounce and chase the secretary or have a midlife crisis and decide a sports car and a young blonde is what's right for him and I'm on the curb? So I think there's like an unconscious safety protocol about, wait, are we still good? But instead of being responsible and doing your inner work and having a conversation once in a while, everything's working and we're still good. We're still both green lights. Okay. There's this cultural shit testing model of he's still
Also,
for
for,
me. And so we're okay. Go ahead.
also for men, because we're talking about like coaching and like dating, and
Yeah.
online dating is a big deal.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that one of the truths is women use phones. It's like a weapon. Like the moment you send a message, it's like on the dating app, or like if you meet someone, and women use the phone as a way of testing also. So that is also something to be aware of. One of my favorite shit tests, which is not my favorite, but like it's one of the hardest ones, is when they throw you the jealousy test. Like they're going to try to make you feel jealous, for example. That is a common one, which most men fail, which is why relationships end so easily, or like the attraction drops. You go on a date. I'm sure, Mirna, you have experienced this. You go on a date, everything is perfect. You throw a shit test, and then you discover that all of a sudden this perfect gentleman does not have a backbone, and then even if he's a plastic surgeon, whatever, successful person, you're gonna be like, you were almost there, but you just kind of suck. So the jealousy test, one of the ways, for example, this test they will throw at you is like, for example, your girlfriend or the woman you're dating, she's going to tell you, oh my God, look at this man that they're messaging me. If you're like online dating, she's going to show you all her like potential dates, and how do you react to that. That is going to tell her a lot. If you're already in a relationship or in a marriage, she can come to you and be like, oh my God, the other day I was in the grocery store and somebody asked me for my phone number. Now how do you react to that? That's also something that women are going to be extremely paying attention to. Like, for example, I have that test throwing at me many times. Now I understood. I'm like, let's say you're in a relationship, your girlfriend comes to you, hey, the other day this guy asked me for my phone number, and I'm like, I'll be offended if somebody doesn't ask you for your phone number. Like, with that ass, how can they not?
You're beautiful women, of course they're hiding, and you better have said no.
Of course, that's the next. Yeah, of course.
Yes,
But
and then she knows she's safe. You're still interested.
yes.
So there's some theory behind it, but I think we've kind of painted the dystopian picture of modern dating. And there's an old saying that sort of the advice of a grandmother or an aunt who's fond of someone, honey, there's a lid for every pot. Meaning they're people that have like vibrational concerns, where the energy is a match, where what they care about, the other person also cares about. So for example, so much of the Instagram world is about, am I living my best life? Can I prove that I'm in an expensive restaurant? Can I prove that I'm driving a modern car? Can I prove that I'm carrying an expensive handbag? Can I show you that I spent $100 on a manicure? You're trying to demonstrate material wealth as equivalent to happiness and satisfaction in life. They are not equivalent.
No.
But in your mind, happiness is money, or that financial security is happiness. And so if a man feels that way and a woman feels that way, that lid and that pot probably are a fit. You both want to demonstrate wealth and show that you're living your best life and you're successful. You're in high social circles. Both of you still look like beautiful people 10 years into the marriage. You're taking care of your bodies. This is what you value. This is what you're giving to each other. Other people want someone who makes them laugh, want someone who does their inner work, want someone who genuinely loves and cares for the children. We don't know what your goals are, but when you know what your goals are, you can go out and find a lid for your pot because it's out there vibrationally as well as in your areas of concern. And so to say that wealth is a foolish thing, for some people, it is the right thing. To say that a husband who knows how to lead and wants to be a leader and shoulder the responsibility of a family and a household is the most attractive thing to you. There are men who want to step up and do that and men who don't. So finding the right match for people, first identify what you want. It's out there for you. So closing thoughts, Brian and Jonathan, and then we'll wrap up this long modern dating video. Closing.
All right. Yeah. So I mean, one thing is though, another problem here is people aren't always truthful. And I do think it's women more often who are doing this kind of thing, but there's a lot of women who say they want this. That's not what they want. Okay. So this thing about like communication, and generally we give women credit for being better communicators. I mean, that's just the general thing that everyone agrees is true. However, they expect men to be mind readers. That's not good communication, is it? However, a lot of times they'll openly admit, yeah, I say I want this, but I really don't. I just say that because it looks good. Like I've
Don't
seen
date that
videos of
woman.
women.
Just don't date that woman. Okay. She's lying. Don't date her. She's a liar. Okay. And men too, who
Sure.
say, oh, I'm only dating
But
you, and they're dating 3 people. I mean, it's on
actually,
both sides. And so
okay,
don't date
actually,
liars. Check the box. She doesn't lie. He doesn't lie. Okay.
okay, you interjected that. So, yes, like that's true, but there's a lot of women out there doing that. Like it's not a small percentage. You might think it's a small, it's not. It's a large, it's a big. I don't know if it's the majority, but there's a lot of women out there doing that. Also, studies are starting to show that women cheat more often than men, even though men get blamed for cheating. We are thought of as the cheaters, right? That's what society believes. However, women are cheating more than men now. A lot of the new studies are showing that because it's easier for them to do so. They can just get on a dating app real quick. I've seen stories of women who are like, yeah, I had a fight with my boyfriend. I don't like him right now. So I just got on the dating app. I hooked up with some other guy just because she's mad. So that means she's going to go cheat. There's a lot of this stuff out there. So anyways, Jonathan, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I was gonna say that is extremely true. It's happened to me. Like I have
There you
been,
go.
I have been a victim, but I have also perpetrated the same back. So, it is important to acknowledge that that exists, because you cannot be naive as a man thinking that that's not going to happen. So, but also understanding that there are different. There's a spectrum. There is a spectrum, and there are women that are complete bitches, and there are women that are not. So, it is again your responsibility to choose the right kind, and to do that you're gonna have to have options, because otherwise you're going. If you don't have options, then you can't choose the right one. Which is something that I can help men. I've been saying this for. I cannot emphasize this enough. It's one of my areas of expertise. It's so easy to achieve that.
I think you definitely can help men, and I think men should reach out to you if they want that help.
If they decide they want to like date, because they will understand this is how it is. But also, like you were saying, Brian, we cannot be naive, pretending that that is not a thing. Because yes, there are evil females. There are vicious out there. Yes, they are. And if you are not conscious about it, they it can become a very ugly situation. Like, you know, the men that end up with their marriage that she lives. I met them. I have met them. They leave them with nothing, no kids,
Yep.
no nothing, and
Yep.
also they're heartbroken, and also on top of that, like their self-esteem is like on the floor because she ended up like.
That's like one of the worst crimes you could ever commit on someone, and it's just legal. Women are just allowed to do that. So you take all of a man's money, and you take his kids, and you take his wife away, and you crush his self-esteem. That's all in one.
And it
But that's just
happens.
legal. They're just allowed to do that. Okay.
And it happens across. It doesn't matter who you are. It happens across the social.
All the social strata.
Like yes,
Mhm.
across. So it doesn't matter if you're poor or rich. It happens if you're even if you're Leonardo DiCaprio is going to happen because if you're not like Ben Affleck,
Mhm.
Tom Brady, all these guys that get like Tom Brady is a great story. Like, come on, this guy
Oh,
is
Tom Brady,
supposed to
that's a
be
perfect example.
one of the greatest
Mhm.
athletes of the sport that he plays.
Mhm.
And then next thing you know, his wife is dating a fucking jiu-jitsu guy,
Yep.
and he ends up like that should be an eye-opening.
Mhm.
It is. It really
Because
is.
you know, and also this guy is good looking, so it's not about looks. Now we know that it's not about looks. It's not about money.
Right.
It's all about um.
Those two
Be-
people. It's about those two people. The old
yes,
saying I also like
It's
is it
about
takes
her
two to
feelings.
tango.
Like it's about her
It takes
feelings.
two to tango. And so there's almost never a breakup where one person is 100% at fault and one person is faultless. Because there were things that happened along the way to arrive at the breakup. Now, it's true that we've seen tragedies in breakups about how people are destroyed. I've worked with a lot of women that were destroyed. Men hid money. They found a way to put their secretary in the house and lock the woman, and her stuff's on the curb. And it's like, how is this legal? He can afford a high-powered lawyer. I was, counting on his money and keeping a house and not keeping up financially with him. Now I'm at a huge disadvantage. So I've seen all of the spectrum that Jonathan says. I think if you work on your own happiness, happiness is out there for you. And at a life designed, we invite people to design their best lives, whether you're coming out of a tragic breakup or whether you're dating for happiness or not dating at all and just working on yourself. Whatever that looks like, our coaches are available to support you in leading your best life as you design it to be for you. So, Brian, how do people get a hold of you? And then Jonathan, and then we'll wrap up our conversation today.
Yeah, it's just through alifedesign.org, or my Instagram is Special K Coaching,
Mhm.
and that's it for now. I still got to work on the TikTok, but I'm gonna get it done
Good.
eventually here.
Great. Oh, good. So, and Jonathan, how do people get a hold of you?
I was trying to remember. I had a thought, and now it's gone. But
I'm
I was
sorry.
going to make a final point. I didn't want to interrupt with you.
No, no.
Um, but it is at the end of the day, it is the reality is that it is our responsibility. So we at the end of the day, the baseline is we are the ones that are responsible.
Yeah.
So if we choose someone, we better make sure that we choose the best possible option and date with awareness,
Yeah.
awareness, and then yeah, like understanding like how worth like the MGTOW movement, like is it worth it for you? Is because if it's not,
Mhm.
it's also respect. I understand like
Mhm.
totally
Mhm.
because it's true,
Mhm.
but yeah, definitely. How can they get a hold of me? They can go to Jonathan R Coaching on Instagram, also alivedesign.org,
Mhm.
as well as TikTok is also Jonathan R Coaching,
Mhm.
and through email jonathanrcoaching@gmail.com. That's where they can find me. And
Very good. Yeah. Okay. Well, this has been really lovely to hear your perspective. I hope we've shared both sides of the picture. And it's confusing out there and complicated, but if you work on yourself, I guess is our point. And then if you need to work with a coach to help you define what you're looking for, you'll find it out there. Lots of happily married people in the world, lots of people that are dating successfully. And so there is a way forward for you. If that's not what's true for you, keep trying. We encourage you to work with a professional. So, okay. Modern dating. I don't think we solved any of the problems here, but maybe we helped guide people for
Do
finding
you
how.
want to hit the record button?
Oh, sure. Thanks, guys.